And that's where we're continuing today. Our focus, as you also have seen in some of the front pages we've gone through this morning. Well, to talk us through some of these matters, we're joined by Mr. Femi Falana, SAN, to give his perspective on these matters. Morning, and thank you for coming on today.
Good morning.
I'm just wondering, I mean, looking through, we see all kinds of headlines, some of them surprising to many, especially when it has to do with judges. But so far, the narrative out there about this government's fight against corruption, does it indicate to you in any way that they are on the right track?
I think so far, so good. Pursuant to Section 15 of the Constitution, every government in Nigeria is required, mandatorily required, to fight corruption, because the provision is to defend that the state, the Nigerian state, shall abolish corrupt practices and abuse of power. So since 1999, as a matter of fact, since the Abacha period, every government had tried one way or the other to fight corruption in its own way. If you will recall, it was the Sani Abacha junta that enacted the advance fee fraud decree and the rest of them. There with certain bank executives, and also the fair bank decree was also enacted by that junta. The Abdulsalami Abubakar junta, incidentally, that's the chairman of the Peace Committee, National Peace Committee, investigated General Sani Abacha, even in his grave. And not less than $1 billion was recovered in terms of money and other assets. It is on record that General Abdulsalami Abubakar promulgated the forfeiture decree number 45 of 1999, which had to do with the assets of General Sani Abacha that were forfeited to the Nigerian state. And that has continued. And that is why one is rather flabbergasted with some of the developments going on. Even President Jonathan fought corruption in his own way. You'll be surprised.
Did we get results?
Partially. For instance, last year, when the government had to withdraw the charges against Mr. Muhammadu Buhari after 14 years, between 2000 and 2014, that case traveled between the FCT High Court to the Supreme Court. And when the government was now going to withdraw the charges at the High Court, because the Supreme Court said, go back and have your trial, the Office of the Attorney General issued a statement to the effect that the government, the withdrawal was occasioned by the fact that $970 million from the Abacha loan had been recovered by the Jonathan government. Under that government, $458 million was also forfeited by the United States government, which has not been repatriated yet. The US government, the Obama regime, simply decided not to.
Was it about the Halliburton case?
No. From the Abacha loot alone. And from the Halliburton, from Siemens, Scandal, and some of them, through some plea bargain, they call it, the government made about $120 million. That's the Jonathan government. So every government in Nigeria investigate the past, usually the previous regime. But for the past 16 years, the PDP government and the Abubakar junta, Abdulsalami Abubakar junta, recovered about $3.2 billion from the Abacha loot. It is the most successful loot recovery in the world. And it's not ended yet. The government it's not done yet with the Abacha loot alone.
Wow.
So there are other, again, to be fair to President Jonathan, he sacked 3 ministers. One of them on the ground of conflict of interest for corruption. But we all forget this. So when some people come, oh, don't investigate the part. Oh, leave this one alone, leave that one alone.
Let me ask
They are not being fair, even to the previous government. And President Jonathan has made the point. I have nothing to fear.
You know, talking, what comes to mind is that you have given us not one, not twice, at least three of the instances where the Abacha loot has been returned. Now let's look at those other ones. Chimala mentioned the Halliburton scandal, which everyone thought would be the talking point now with this new administration. Some have been asking questions about Abacha loot. Is it because the man is no more? That is why we're all after, we here, the countries after his loot. What about those that are still very much alive with us? So what's the fear in facing the living and go after the dead?
You see, it's going to be very difficult to shield the living from prosecution and investigation. For instance, the president has asked the government of Western countries to assist in the recovery of our looted wealth stashed in the vaults of Western banks. And President Obama has pledged to collaborate. Please note, the president said the country lost about $150 billion in the last 10 years. Certainly, that periodization goes beyond President Jonathan. And those countries are simply not going to help us. By so, take the money. They are also going to insist. In the case of Halliburton and others, we are going to cooperate with you insofar as you are ready to go the whole hog. You'll be surprised. And for me as a Nigerian, this is very painful. The United States government, as of the last scan, has realized about $1.8 billion in terms of fines from companies, corporate bodies, and individuals that bribe Nigerian officials. You can believe this. And what have we made? A paltry sum of about $120 million. And these countries are going to insist. We want the rule of law to be followed. We are giving you these funds, we are giving you all the necessary information, and this is our own reports of investigation. Can you go after all those who are indicted?
What's the fear in going the whole hog?
The whole fear for the ruling class, and this is where Nigerians must be fair to the National Peace Committee. For me, I read their statement, I read Bishop Kuka's interviews, and I'm not bothered. You know why? What they did was simply a demonstration of class solidarity. Nobody is speaking for the poor. Under the current political and legal system, the rich are never harassed. So when my Lord the Bishop was saying, oh, follow the rule of law in dealing with corrupt people, of course. What they follow in Nigeria, as one of my colleagues will say, Mr. Giti Ogwe, is rules of law, not rule of law. And do you know what the EFCC does? Or the police? When they are dealing with the rich, they write a polite letter. We're hereby inviting you to our office on so day. Kindly be interviewed by this officer. And they will leave the phone number politely. You don't write a letter to the poor. You pounce on their houses. And I recall, so again when I read some of these things, I laugh.